What's up, everybody? So, the college basketball rankings came out today. They update every Monday, and the Duke Blue Devils obviously got jumped by the Gonzaga Bulldogs because they lost to them on Wednesday by 2 points in the Maui Classic out in Maui. And a lot of people are kind of freaking out about this, both in a good way and in a negative way. A lot of people were out there saying that the Duke men's basketball team could compete in the NBA and that they could beat the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're piss poor at the moment. And I'm a huge Duke fan. I've been my whole life. I grew up watching Duke. But, I knew that eventually at some point during the season they were going to stumble. In the history of college basketball, there has been, I believe, 2 teams that have ever went undefeated. One of which was back when UCLA was destroying college basketball and they won 10 national championships in a row. They went undefeated. And the Indiana Hoosiers, when Bob Knight was coaching them, they went undefeated to win the national championship. So in the history of college basketball, it's happened twice. And a lot of people were shocked and blown away that the Duke Blue Devils, with all that talent and all the highest recruits in the NCAA basketball, could lose. But what people are forgetting is Duke is a bunch of 18-year-old kids. They've never played college basketball. Everywhere that they've played, they have been far more athletic. They have been far more talented, bigger, stronger than everybody they've ever played. Well, now they're in the NCAA basketball, the big leagues, essentially college is the minor leagues for the NBA. And they played a team that was ranked 3rd in the nation, which was the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They didn't lose to a scrub. They didn't lose to a team that had a bunch of nobodies. They lost to the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who has great freshmen, just like they do, and some juniors, sophomores, seniors on that team who have been around the block. So it's not surprising that Duke lost. Not that Duke is not probably the more talented team, but in college basketball, composure wins games. And Duke got down big in that game. They were down by 16 points at one time. They came roaring back to get within 2, and they had an opportunity to win it. I listened to the game when I was on my way to LA for Thanksgiving, and the announcers said, this isn't me being biased, the announcers said there was a lot of missed calls in that second half. So you think 1 or 2 calls go Duke's way, they win that game. But it was Duke's fault for getting down in the hole that many points. It was Duke's fault for not being composed. And that's what happens to freshmen. Freshmen will be freshmen. They've played 4 games in the NCAA so far. So in the men's college basketball, they played 4 games. They're going to have a little bit of stumbling. Now, that doesn't mean that Gonzaga is a better team. That just means they're better right now. As far as talent and athletic ability, Duke's probably way better than them, just not right now. It'll be different at the end of the season. But to be honest with you, even though I'm a huge Duke fan and I'm pulling for them every game, I'm glad they lost that game. A team that had that much praise and a team that had that high of a ceiling going into a game where everyone just was telling them they could crush anybody, they could come to the NBA and crush anybody. As an 18-year-old kid, your ego is going to get inflated and you're going to start to believe it. So getting humbled, especially by a good team that you're probably going to see again, that's good for the Duke basketball team. They need to learn that you have to show up every game. They need to learn that you can't take a game for granted because you can always lose and, something could always happen. So I don't take anything away from a loss, especially in college basketball. Like I said, I think twice in the history of college basketball, teams went undefeated. And so I don't take anything away from it. Duke will be fine. They'll be there at the end of the season. They might be a number 1 seed for sure, or top 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. I can guarantee you that. So, I hope that all those people out there, it's a 30-game season, if minimum. Duke will probably win 28 to 30 games this year. So just calm down on the Duke train. I think they're unbelievable as much as anybody else, but at the end of the day, they're a bunch of 18-year-old kids trying to figure out everything, trying to figure out where they fit and where they're going to play. So they'll get it together. Thank you for tuning in.